Okay. All right, so 2-4, we are going to go over one more equation that we can use to write equations of lines with. This one is called point-slope form, and hopefully you've done this before and it won't be something new. Well, of course it's not going to work right when I decide to record the lesson. That's how life works, huh? Here we go. So 2-4, we have more linear equations, the most creative name we could have. So what we're going to do is we're going to be able to write equations of lines if they give us 2 points, if they give us 1 point and a slope, we'll be able to write the equation of line. Before, we only knew how to do it if they gave us the slope and the y-intercept. We didn't have a way to do it otherwise. So for us to write our equations of our lines, we're going to use this form here called point-slope form. So point-slope form, when you are using it, you have to have a point and you have to have a slope. That's why they called it point-slope form. So you've got an ordered pair and you have the slope. Here is our form that we're going to use. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The things that we're going to plug in for are your m. You're going to plug your slope in for m. Okay. And you're going to plug in the ordered pair they give you in the x1 and y1 spot. We don't plug anything in for the regular x and the regular y. So the x1, y1 is the point that you're given. And we plug that in there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to write a couple things in point-slope form, and then I'll show you how easy it is to go from point-slope form into slope-intercept form. Sometimes you're asked to just stop in point-slope form, and if that's the case, those are the easier ones to do. You just have 2 more steps, and you're in slope-intercept. So our first example, we want to write an equation with a slope of -4 that passes through -2, 1. So they're going to give us a slope of -4, and it goes through -2, 1. So we know our m is -4 and our -2 is the x1 and the 1 is the y1. And we're going to plug it into point-slope form. Okay. So y we don't do anything with. So y minus, what is the y1? Y'all can show me with your fingers. The y1 is 1, right? y1 is 1. So y minus 1 equals, our m is -4, so -4. And then we have x minus -2. So if somebody told you to write it in point-slope form, this is where you would stop. I would do one change on this. What's the one change you would probably do if you were writing this that looks kind of weird?
Would you change it to +2?
Yeah, minus minus, I would change to a +2. So let's go ahead and do that just so you'll see it. So y minus 1 equals -4, x plus 2. And if you're asked for point-slope form, you're going to stop here. Okay, but I'm going to show you real quick how easy it is to take this and then turn it into slope-intercept form, and then you can graph it, and it will all be great, okay? So if you want to continue on and you want to put this in slope-intercept form, we need to get the y by itself. But we distribute first, and then we make the y alone. So we're going to go ahead and just distribute our -4. Thumbs up if you're okay with that step that I just did. Okay, any questions on it? Good on that one? All right, now if I want y by itself.
Can you go back over a little bit? Go back a little bit.
My bad.
What?
Can you go back over it again?
Uh-huh.
I said my bad.
Oh. Okay. I just distributed the -4 to the x and the -4 to the 2. Just multiply those. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
All right, and then if I want the y by itself, I have y minus 1. So what operation are we going to use to get the y alone? You can do it with your hands. We're going to do what with the 1? We're going to add it. Thank you. We're going to add 1 to both sides. And the 1's go away on the y side, and we just have y equals -4x minus 7. And remember, if negatives are not your favorite thing to deal with, just go ahead, you just put that in the calculator. It doesn't bother me one bit. So are we in slope-intercept form right now? Yeah. So if they ask you to put it in slope-intercept form, start out in point-slope form, just distribute your number, then move whatever you had over next to the y. So at this point, we are now in slope-intercept form. What is the y-intercept?
-7.
-7, yes. We couldn't tell that at the beginning. We didn't know it was -7 from these numbers. We had to put it in point slope form, distribute, and solve for that. Okay. All right, so this next one I want you to try on your own. I just want you to stop at point slope form first and show that to me, and then we'll move on to do slope intercept, okay? So here's one on your own. We're going to go m equals 2, and your ordered pair is -3, 5. So put that into point slope form and then show me what you got. Okay, let's see. Good job, Diamond. And let's look at, yes, Anna, good job. Make sure, Shalia, you keep your parentheses around the x plus 3. Kimberly, good. Jalea, Mackenzie, good. Trinity. We had minus, which just makes a regular plus. You don't need the plus negative on that one. Seisha, you forgot your slope, but the rest of that's good. Layla, good job. Abby and other Abby, good job. And Charity, it's a +2 for the slope instead of a -2, but the rest of that looks good. Jackson, good. Jayla, yes. Taylin, yes. Anybody else want to show me? All right, Charles. Good job, Charles. Okay. So we've got, y'all did a great job with this. We're doing y minus y1. So that's y minus 5 equals our m, which our m was 2, times x minus x1, and x1 was negative 3. So x minus negative 3 is the same as x plus 3. So that is where we would stop if they said point slope form. So we would stop there. That's our point slope form. Okay, I want y'all to do the next step and have it into slope intercept form. So distribute your 2 and move your 5. So get the y by itself. Distribute your 2 and move your 5. Anna, yes? Jackson, yes. Layla, yes. Diamond, yes. Deja, distribute the 2 first. So go ahead and do 2 times x and 2 times 3. Mackenzie, yes. Abby, yes. Jeremiah, you got it yet? Almost. Shalia, make sure you distribute your 2 times x and 2 times 3. Kimberly, yes. Jalea, it was already a negative 5. Jayla, why did I say Jalea? Jayla, it was already negative 5, so you have to add the 5 on both sides. Zaja, very close. Just look at the last number. Jeremiah, scoot it over a tiny bit. Other way. Yes, good job, Jeremiah. And Charity, your sign on the 6 was wrong, so that messed you up on that part. Jayla, it should be 6 plus 5 on for the last number. 6 plus 5, do you see that? Yes, Asia, you got it. Just said, finally. All right, so we have to distribute our 2 first. So we have y minus 5 is equal to 2x plus 6. Make sure the 2 goes to both of your numbers, okay? And then we want to move the 5 to the other side, so we will add it because it was a minus 5. So we're going to add 5 to both sides, and we end up with y is equal to 2x plus 11. All right, so what is the y-intercept for this graph? 11. Where does the graph, or then what is the slope for the graph? 2. So we would start at 11 on the y-axis, go up 2 and over 1. Okay. All right, next, sometimes they just give us 2 points. So they want us to put something in point slope form, but they only give us the points. They don't give us the slope. So let's see what we need to do if that happens. So we're going to write an equation, and it goes through 5, 1, and 7, 9. Okay, so to put it in point slope, we have to have a point and we have to have a slope. We've got 2 points, but we have no slope. Can we find the slope if you have 2 points? Yeah, so we have to find the slope first, and then we can pick whichever point we want to use for our point slope form. So if they give you 2 points, you have got to first find the slope. So we'll do our y2 minus y1. And then our x2 minus x1. We have 9 minus 1 on top, and that makes 8. 7 minus 5 is 2. Can we simplify 8 over 2? Yes, what is 8 over 2? 4. Good, thank you. So our slope is 4. So that's our first step when they give us 2 points. We've got to find the slope. Our second step, we pick whichever point we want to use. It doesn't matter. Just know that on your homework, they are multiple choice questions. So it doesn't matter. Any one would be right, but they're just going to have one of the options up there for you to choose from. So just know it might not be the point that you picked, and you just have to look and see if it's the other point. So which one do you want to pick, the 5-1 or the 7-9? The 5-1? Okay, so let's pick the 5-1, and we have a slope of 4. So we're going to use m equals 4, and we're also going to use 5-1. We'll stop this one at point slope form. I don't care to go to slope intercept for this problem. But just do whatever they ask you to do. If they say slope intercept, keep going. If they don't, you can stop at point slope. So we're going to do y minus y1. So y minus 1, because our y1 is 1, equals, what's our m value? 4. So that equals 4. And then we have x minus 5. So that's the equation in point slope form. You could have used the other point and it would have been just as correct. So if you had x or y minus 9 equals 4 times x minus 5, that's also okay. Okay. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is what happens if we have parallel and perpendicular lines. When two lines are parallel, what do you know about their slope? Do you remember?
Aren't they the same?
Yeah, so if two lines are parallel, the slopes are the same, so they have the same slope. And if two lines are perpendicular, what do we know about their slopes? They are different, that's true. They're going to be the opposite reciprocal. Do you remember hearing that? Which means you flip it over and change the sign, okay? So they are opposite reciprocals, or you can just think flip fraction and change the sign. So before we start some problems, I want to make sure everybody's clear on how we could get some perpendicular slopes. So 2/3, a slope of 2/3 is going to be perpendicular to a slope of what? We're going to flip the fraction over and change the sign. So when we do that,
-3/2.
yep, -3/2. So 2/3 is perpendicular to -3/2 for a slope. We flipped over our fraction and we changed our sign. All right, we'll do one more. We'll do a whole number just so you remember what to do with that. Say I had -2. To flip over -2, right now it's not written as a fraction. What do you need to write -2 as? We have to put the 1 underneath it, right? Okay, now we're going to flip it over and change the sign. So try that on your paper. See what happens when you flip over -2/1 and change the sign. And what do we get? 1/2. Good. So we'll work one parallel problem, one perpendicular problem, and then we have X and Y intercepts, and we'll be done today. No, it was already negative. So when we change the sign, it becomes positive. So our first one is we are going to write an equation of a line that is parallel, and they'll tell you parallel to what, and it goes through what point. So we have to figure out, based on what we know about slopes, what the slope of our line that we're going to write is going to be, okay? So we're going to write an equation of a line that's parallel to y equals 7x minus 4, and it goes through the point 2, 5. So we want to do it in point slope form, and they tell us our point is 2, 5, and we have to infer what our slope is going to be. So the important things for us to look at are the word parallel and the equation that they give us. All right. What do we know if it says parallel? Parallel means it's going to be the same
slope.
Okay. So that means that if we look at this equation and we identify what that slope is in this equation, we're going to use that same number. Okay. So if you see y equals 7x minus 4, what is the slope of this line? It's in mx plus b form. So what's in the m position? What number is in the m position in 7x minus 4? It is the 7. Good. So mx plus b. So the 7 is the slope from this line. Since it's parallel, we're using the same slope. So our m that we're going to use is 7. So we have an m of 7, an x1 of 2, and a y1 of 5. So really quickly, just write this in point slope form. You don't have to show me. I just want you to just write it really quick. M of 7 going through 2, 5. Do your point slope form. Okay, so everybody should have gotten y minus 5 equals 7 times x minus 2. Thumbs up if that's what we got. Good, good, good. All right, let's go ahead and distribute and solve for y, just for a little bit more practice on that. So y minus 5 equals 7x minus 14. And do we need to add the 5 or subtract the 5 to move it? We need to add it. Good job. So we add our 5. And we end up with y equals 7x minus 9. So we did a parallel problem. Now we're going to work a perpendicular problem just to see what the difference between those two are. Remember, perpendicular means whatever slope you had, you want to flip it over and change the sign. Okay? So what was the original slope in the line they give us, what was the original slope?
-2.
-2. But since it's perpendicular to the -2, we've got to change it, right? We have to flip it over and change the sign. So if you flip over -2 over 1, remember, our new slope will be what? Remember, there's that little 1 underneath there. So flip it over and change the sign, and our new slope is going to be 1/2, yes. So if it says perpendicular, you've got to flip your slope over and change the sign. So we'll plug it into point slope again. We're not going to continue on from that step though. So y minus 4 equals 1/2 times x plus 1. Okay. Our very last thing is if you have an equation where the x and y are on both sides and you don't want to solve for y and you're trying to graph it, you can find the x and y intercepts and then graph it that way. Okay. And remember, if you're doing an x-intercept, it's on the x-axis, so y is 0 there. And if you're doing a y-intercept, it's on the y-axis, so x is 0 there. So we're going to plug in zeros for the other variable that we're going to use. And I like to call it the cover-up method for this. So I'll just show you. You'll probably remember pretty quickly how to find the x and y intercepts for a graph for this. So we'll just do 1, and I think that that's okay. And I'll have you try 1 and you can graph it. So if I had something like 4x minus 6y is equal to 12. Do you see how the x and y are on one side? There's another number on the other side. These are really easy to find the x and y intercepts. So I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to use a little square so I can cover up. Fill it with a color. That one's pretty. Okay. All right, if you're finding the x-intercept with your hand, cover up the y part. So to find your x-intercept, you cover up the y part, and we look, and what's left over if I covered up the part that had the y? 4x equals 12. Okay, so if 4x equals 12, we want to solve that. What are we going to do to solve it?
Divide by 4.
Divide by 4, good. And x is going to equal 3. So our x-intercept is 3. So to find the x-intercept, we cover up the y part, write the equation, and solve it. And remember, since it's an ordered pair, the x value is 3, the y value is 0 because it's on the axis. Now to find the y-intercept, cover up the x part. You can cover that up with your hand. Write down what's left. And we're going to solve it. So we have -6y equals 12. To solve it, you're going to divide both sides by -6. And y is going to equal -2. And since it's a y value, we put the -2 in the y position, 0 in the x position. Do you want to see how easy this is to graph? The x-intercept is 3. So we just put a point on the x-axis at 3. The y-intercept was -2. We put a point on -2, and we connect them. That's all. So I wrote out every single step so that you would have it, but I would just cover that up. Could you do this equation in your head? If you cover that part up, you could just divide by 4 in your head and write down x equals 3, okay? And cover up that part, divide by -6 and y equals 2. Your x-intercept is 3, your y-intercept is -2. All right, so here's one to try on your own, and I do want to check it. So you're gonna write down what the intercepts are and then sketch it. This is our last thing to do today. Let's go with 2x plus 5y is equal to 10. So write down your x-intercept, y-intercept, and then sketch your line. And then show me what you got. Zays, you do this problem, and then your noodles might cool off. Okay. She just burned her whole entire mouth. Okay, so good, good, good. Jackson, good job. Thank you. Thank you, Abby. Diamond, your numbers are right. Make sure they're on the right axis. On the x-axis should be the 5, and the y-axis should be the 2. Kim, go ahead and sketch your graph, please. Yes, Interiority, good job. Yes, Abby. Jayla, make sure your x-intercept is the point on the x-axis. So put a point on 5 on the x-axis and then sketch them. Yes, Mackenzie. Got 5 and 2. Lavanya, your numbers are correct. Yes, and go ahead and sketch your graph. Yes, Kim, that's good. Jeremiah, your x is, let's see, look at your x again. Cover up your y part and solve for x. Taylin, that is great. Go ahead and sketch your graph. Put those points on there. Layla, your x-intercept is good on the graph, but look at the y-intercept. It's a positive number. Yes, Cantrell, just the numbers are good. Go ahead and sketch those. Deja, that's good. Devin, that's good. Jayla, perfect. Thank you. Almost, Jeremiah, the y-intercept is positive. Chilia, good. Anna, is your y-intercept 2 on there, Anna, on your graph? Thank you, Layla. All right, so we covered up. Where'd my cover up box go? Did I lose it? So it's see, when did it become see-through? So if I cover up the y, this isn't really helping. I cover up the y and I get 2x equals 10. So my x-intercept is 5 with an ordered pair of 5, 0, because I divided 10 by 2. And then I'm going to cover up the x part. So pretend like that's not there. And 5y equals 10. When you solve that, y equals 2. The ordered pair is 0, 2. And when we sketch our graph, we put a point on 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, point, and a point on 2 on the y-axis, 1, 2, with a point, and we connect the 2. Okay. Okay, any questions about those? Cover-up method. Does anybody remember that from Algebra 1? Doing that for your intercepts, maybe, maybe not. So point slope form, parallel, perpendicular, and your x-intercept is what you're doing today. So go ahead and get started working on that on CUDA. Make sure you're writing your problems down for this. There are a lot of things that need to be written down when you're doing point slope form.